As you can see, she's got the title up there. Charlotte's now just starting her third year, so thought it was about time that she told the rest of you what she was actually working on. So over to Charlotte.
Okay. Well, my project's looking at the effective farmyard manure application on prey of breeding waders, and specifically in bedding and grassland. And I'm particularly looking at lapwings and earthworms. The project is jointly funded by Harper and the Reserves Ecology Department of the RSPB. Okay, so I'm just going to give a background to the project and the PhD project aims, the work done to date, and a few more interesting results, and planned research for this year. Breeding wader populations have been recorded as declining since the 1980s, and lapwing numbers have halved on wet grassland in Britain since 1987. Previous studies have shown the cause to be largely reduced breeding success rather than adult mortality. Reviews carried out by Peach et al. In 1994 showed that only 4 out of 24 studies did lapwings produce enough chicks to maintain population numbers. This illustrates some of the factors leading to causing wader densities to be low. We're particularly interested in this pathway from a low invertebrate availability leading to low chick and egg survival. Surveys by the RSPB in 2002 showed there was relatively low availability of soil invertebrates on some of their wet grassland reserves, particularly those that had recently been reverted from arable or drained grassland. And because wader chicks are precocial and have to find food for themselves, good prey availability is particularly important. And bioavailability is a function of both abundance and accessibility. So current management for waders and wet grassland does not routinely involve farmyard manure application. Mainly centres on keeping the soil moist and promoting a low-growing sward and reducing predator numbers. And this is my site in the Somerset Levels. You see a sort of habitat working. Okay. So why I'm particularly looking at earthworms is they're an important component of lapwing and other wader diets. And just a quick review of the literature shows that in all studies there have been a high component of adult diets, and in the majority of chick studies on chicks diet as well. Unlike arthropods, they don't have a chitin in the shell, so you'd expect them to be more profitable prey. Availability of earthworms is related to lapwing egg size and determines their laying date. And work in Holland also suggests that chicks are obliged to switch diet to principally earthworms to maintain growth as they get older. And Rob Sheldon, who did his PhD here as well, found chick condition to be positively related to the number of earthworms they ate. Okay, so potential benefits of applying farmyard manure would be it would increase earthworms, hopefully. So organic matter content is correlated with earthworm numbers, it's quite well known, and diamond manure application in laboratory and field studies has been shown to increase fecundity, growth rates, body size, aggregation, and also surface activity. The added benefit of increasing earthworm availability is that greater earthworm numbers means greater incorporation of organic matter into the soil, and at some of the arable sites, thick layers of organic matter lying on top of the surface has been seen to be a problem, as well as soil compaction. So basically I hope that farmyard manure would mean more worms and maybe bigger worms, more active worms, which mean more accessibility for waders. So the project aims to show the effects of low-level farmyard manure application on soil invertebrates, particularly earthworms, and also surface active invertebrates, which are also a component of wader diets. And we're also going to assess the effect on soil and vegetation properties, so we don't want vegetation to grow too high or too thick, as that is be detrimental to chick mobility and also to prey detection. And also then looking at directly the effect of farmyard manure application on lapwing chick foraging success. And eventually from this, consider the implications for breeding wader populations on reserves and the viability of spreading manure as a management tool for wader conservation. So these are study sites I've been working at, fairly well spread out across lowland Britain. And the majority are RSPB reserve sites that have a substantial amount of wet grassland on them. And I've also got a trial set here at the college farm, and I had a trial down at Wall Farm, just locally. So the principal experiment I've had, that's running the whole 3 years, is one across 4 of the RSPB reserves. It's a randomised block design with 16 replicates, and we've spread treatments at rates of 5, 10 and 15 tonnes per hectare with a control, and that's been applied each autumn. I sample 3 times a year in April, May and June, the principal time when waders will be feeding and breeding. And data was collected in 2004, and that was before treatment. And last year, which was after 1 year of treatment, is going to be repeated this year, which will be after 2 years. The measurements taken are look at soil invertebrate biomass, which I'm doing using the soil cores, and then also identifying the earthworms and species. The epigeal invertebrates are being sampled by pitfall traps, and I'm also using a soil moisture probe and soil penetrability probe, and looking at soil properties, organic matter and pH, and then also vegetation. And in 2004 I also did surveys on winter bird use on the plots for this experiment. These are some of the most interesting results from that experiment from last year. This is the mean number of earthworms, and this was not significant, but you can see a general trend for an increase in 2005 as opposed to 2004 after treatment. And this is similar for the average size of earthworms. And then for the earthworm biomass, this was statistically significant, analysed using general mixed models. And yeah, you can see it's quite a nice trend going across there, and this is the control. So sort of summary of the results. Other than the significant effect on earthworm biomass, there was no effect on earthworm species composition, and no negative or positive effect on the epigeal invertebrates or soil properties, and a similar vegetation and winter bird use. I've also had 2 other experiments, one down at Wall Farm, which used smaller plots and was looking at a slightly higher rate of farming up near 25 tonnes per hectare. That didn't show any results on any invertebrate sample. And I also have a current trial in barnyard field across the road, trying to look at the mechanism behind any changes in earthworm biomass, look at the aggregated response to the earthworms. Using a paired plot design, and also looking at the duration of response, and that we're treating them both in autumn and in January to see if it perhaps affects how they react. And the other work I have planned for this year are some foraging experiments. I have another 2 RSPB reserve sites where we've set up paired plots on quite a large scale, 3 to 4 hectares, and we're going to make observations on chick foraging rates, and looking at their peck rate and successful peck rate, and also their prey choice where possible. And we're also going to look at measurements of earthworm density in relation to how they choose where to forage. And where possible, I'm going to do this on adults, pre-laying adults as well. And back here, I'm hoping to do some work on prey profitability, looking at the energy content of different invertebrates to sort of get an idea of how many earthworms a chick needs, and therefore what an increase in earthworm biomass would mean to a chick on the ground. That's quite quick, but that's so plenty of time for questions.
Okay. Are there any questions?